so everybody knows you're a big wheel in the world of South African business, but I just want to put it on record that the two of us did mechanical engineering at UCT back in the late 80s, so we've always had a good connection.
1988, that's when it was.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just interested because I do bring a lot of people onto the show. For those that are not familiar with you, just give us a quick rundown of what you're doing in the world of business and then also some of your extra business opportunities or activities.
Well, I run my own company, Zungu Investments Company, which is often called ZICO.
Right.
It's an investment holding organization with interest in mining, financial services, general services, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, I'm involved in extra organizational affairs.
Yeah.
I'm part of the Black Business Council, which has just been formed. I'm the chairman of the Transformation Policy Committee of Business Unit South Africa,
Right.
of which I've suspended my activities for now.
Okay. And that I'm going to be keen to get into in a minute. But sorry, I interrupted you a bit there. I'm also want to understand more about your business activities. So over the years, I know you were involved with the Saru Union, which had an investment company, and then you bankrolled yourself into a variety of different opportunities. What are your main activities, though? What are the main companies that you got interested in?
Currently at ZICO, we have an investment in Precrete. Precrete is a mining services organization,
Right.
very much involved in the platinum sector. I also have a company called Green Square Mining, which is a contract miner also in the platinum sector.
Right.
We are also invested in AutoZone, which is a seller of components for the resale market.
That's right, I've seen those, yeah.
We're also involved in Taquanta, which is an asset management.
That's right, I've seen you're a director on the board there.
Absolutely.
Asset management, equities trading, equities derivatives, that kind of thing.
Excellent. Also we're involved in Supercare, which is a cleaning company, second largest in the country. The list is endless. We also have interest in gold mining. We have a relationship with Harmony. We had a joint venture which we sold to them. We're invested in Gold One in the Model East
Mr.
mine.
Froneman's exciting gold vehicle.
Absolutely. We have joint ventures with Rockwell Diamonds. We also own our own company, Jasper Mining. We're also in coal mining through a company called Sinter. We're in the process of completing an acquisition from one of the coal majors.
Okay.
So we are really spread across the
And
industry.
these activities, some of them would be operating companies where you've placed executives in charge and they have their own physical premises, and then in a couple of other instances you might be a minority shareholder in someone else's operating business, is that correct?
Absolutely. Some of the operations we've started from scratch. We've got a license from the Gauteng Gambling Board to roll out these limited payout machines.
Okay.
We run that ourselves. We have operational control. We own the majority of the shares together with other empowerment shareholders. We have a company called Qubeka Forensics, which is a forensic services company. We own control, we appoint, we're responsible for profit and loss. So clearly our spectrum of investments range from tiny minority interests, depending on the size, to organizations that we control and manage.
And then in those instances where you are a minority shareholder, you normally put somebody on the board if it's significant enough and provide a sort of strategic input as well, I assume?
Absolutely. We will prefer to be invested in businesses where we can add and make a difference. And the first and point of entry is really sitting on the board and utilizing our experience, vast experience in business, to help to direct the course of events at that level. By the way, we're also in the continent in a meaningful way.
Okay.
One of our companies, Outdoor Network, which is the third largest billboards or outdoor
yes, that's where I've seen it before,
in the country. It has got operations in Ghana, in Nigeria, as well as in DRC.
Okay.
And that keeps us very busy in the continent.
And business plan wise, I mean, is it your objective to gather as many interests as you can and then work out over time which ones are really worth putting the effort into, and then perhaps concentrating in a certain area, or is it your intention on the long run to remain an investment holding company with these different interests?
Well, over time, we'll obviously migrate towards one or two sectors where we can have depth in terms of involvement, where we can have scale in terms of involvement as well. and where we can be a major player. I think this idea of number one, number two dominates my mind. And that's obviously a long-term plan.
Yeah.
It can't happen overnight. At the moment, empowerment has offered us an opportunity to really call it it's a land grab phase. Offer, put your footprint in as many sectors as possible, and there'll be a time when there's battering and
Yes. Sort of trading stakes in and out, looking at opportunities to reverse into existing vehicles, kind of take it up to the next stage.
Exactly. I think we are moving into that space right now.
And one would imagine so, because obviously you reach maturity with certain investments, you can begin to see which ones are making sense.
Exactly.
And then also operationally, you gather a bigger team around you of people that you know what they can do and what they can't do.
Absolutely. Some of the investments, have had unsolicited interest from trade players. They are offering us quite significant amounts of money.
Yeah.
And we're saying maybe it makes a lot of sense that we use that capital to deepen our involvement elsewhere.
Yeah.
We've got the management team now, people who are CAs, engineers, MBAs, who are on a full-time basis driving our strategy.
Yeah.
So that actually enables me to spend less time in the organization than I did, for example, during its formative stages, and spend a lot more time on events outside of the
Well, let's get to that. So what you were implying that you were a significant office bearer of some sort in Business Unity South Africa, which was kind of like the total umbrella organization. And then recently we saw the kind of crack in that structure, the formation of the Black Business Council. Give us a sense of what's going on there and how you're seeing this particular historic moment in terms of organized business.
Well, there was a Black Business Summit in September, which resolved that black organizations within BUSA must withdraw, rather suspend their participation until further notice. At the same time, the Black Business Council must create capacity to then engage with BUSA on how best to reconfigure BUSA so that it meets the needs and the interests of black business. We're in that space right now. The relationships between black business and BUSA are cordial. We are talking already about, call it talks about talks as to how we'll engage. I think that this separation is only a passing experience.
Okay, so you would cast it as a positive kind of phase which will lead to something more significant in future.
Absolutely. I think, one, we've realized that we need to have a very strong voice of black business. It has been disorganized and fragmented and fractious in the past. That's what BBC will aim to achieve. But at the same time, we want to have a very strong voice of organized business, of which BUSA is
presumably the large corporates, the guys that used to sort of represent the Anglos and breweries and Remgros of the world, they're still out there doing whatever they do in their own space, and it's a question of how now these groups start to position each other relative to each other.
Absolutely. I think BLSA has been organized.
That's the one,
yeah. Business Leadership SA has been very much organized, and I think it functions optimally. The weakest link in the whole value chain has been black business. It's not been organized and talking coherently. It's not been cohesive, and therefore its input at the fora of organized business as a whole has been weakened. So our focus is really on strengthening that base and also ensuring that Business Unity South Africa seeks to talk to the interests of business as a whole.
Okay, believe it or not, we're kind of running out of time already, but I want to ask one question which brings all of this stuff together. So you move at the kind of highest levels in organized business. You've got extensive interactions with people inside of the ANC and in sort of government generally. Plus you are, in your own rights as a business person, kind of trying to get ahead, make the next buck and so on. As you look at the South African economic policy environment, sometimes it seems a bit sterile and sometimes people are just like arguing at each other from their vested interests. What's your overall sense of our growth path as a nation? I mean, are you pretty optimistic? Do you think we can forge a successful and winning economy here?
I'm very confident, absolutely. I think the issues of growth must be qualified. It must be inclusive growth. Inclusive growth that talks to fighting poverty, that talks to bridging inequality, and that talks to creating employment opportunities. And for so long as we are, reading the future from the same page, I think the future is going to be very bright. I'm quite confident at various fora where I interact that there seems to be unanimity now that all these underlying features to inclusive growth are beginning to be a priority to all of us. The issue of policy formulation will always be a challenge, and I think that's where contestation needs to happen. We need to strengthen the likes of NETLEC, which is an appropriate multi-party forum for that type of engagement, and make sure that it has teeth, but at the same time, not lose sight of the fact that the world is moving whilst we are grappling with issues.
So we can't come up with our own dreams. We have to fit in with what's happening in the global economy.
We're part of a globalized economic world, and sooner than later, we have to realize that we have to catch up in terms of speed.
Well, it is encouraging that you're positive, seeing how many meetings you get to sit in. Sandile, thanks very much. It's been great chatting to you.